Hey, folks, welcome. If you don't recognize me, I'm Jeff Galashaw, and we are Unfinished Business Television. Welcome to the latest episode. And with me, as always, is my co host, Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
Ode to Joy.
Yes, we are here with the April 2024 edition of our show. And as always, first and foremost, we must get to the latest news and trailers that are out there in the movie world. So let's start off. Interestingly, since we last saw you, the Oscars have happened. And, it was a pretty good affair. The ratings were up this year. And I'll admit, because of work, I didn't get to see it live or the whole award ceremony, but I did watch the highlights and watched everybody who won. And I mean, it was pretty much mostly everybody you thought who was going to win. The only real upset or surprise of the night was Emma Stone winning Best Actress over Lily Gladstone for the movie Poor Things, and Lily Gladstone in The Killers of the Flower Moon. I give her credit that she at least acknowledged Lily Gladstone when she won. I really wanted Lily Gladstone to win, even though I will admit, when you're looking at the running time of Killers of the Flower Moon, Lily Gladstone is roughly mostly only in 40 minutes, but her presence and really what she represents is all over the films. For those people who felt like, oh, she should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress, I feel like she kind of fit into the Best Actress category. And I'm not trying to diminish Emma Stone's work because Emma Stone, did give a great performance in Poor Things. It's just, I know it's probably not popular to say, but I feel like Emma Stone will get more opportunities and roles that she can be nominated for to return to the Oscars and even win an Oscar. Whereas I feel like when it comes to Lily Gladstone, there might not be too many, because I mean, she was also in a movie before that I and many other critics thought she should have got a Best Supporting Actress nomination for, and she didn't even get nominated, though she did get nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. And that was one of the things of the Oscars that, really, I can't say put a dour on the whole evening, but it was shocking. And also, I guess even though Al Pacino says it was, the producers who did this, but when he just comes up there to give Best Picture, it doesn't even mention the nominees. He just opens the envelope and is like, what do I see? Oppenheimer. And that was like, okay, there went all the build up and mystery. Yeah, it was just like if you were just watching a thriller and the movie a half hour in just decided, here's the killer. There's no build up, no suspense. So, I mean, other than that, that was pretty much, the evening. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. was a shoo-in, especially when you take Charles Melton out for
May, December.
May, September. So it was like he was already shelved, and he probably had the most chance of maybe causing an upset, because even though it would have been nice, I knew they weren't going to give it to Sterling K. Brown. And well, that's my thing of the Oscars. Other than me and Martin Scorsese were very excited for I'm Just Ken performance by Ryan Gosling. And if anybody ever wants to buy me that pink suit with the gloves, send it to me. I will gladly accept it and gladly wear it on an episode. And if I wear it in my free time, we'll gladly send you pictures in it.
Yeah, you know what? This was a pleasant Oscars performance overall. Nothing really to complain about. I do agree with you. Like, Lily Gladstone not winning was probably the only real disappointment I had, because she was just phenomenal in Killers of the Flower Moon. I have yet to see Poor Things. I actually tried one day, and there were some technical issues, but I do plan to get to it. We will review it in the future. But from everything I heard, Emma Stone delivered what was a knockout performance, and it sounded like she was worthy of that Oscar. And God willing, Lily Gladstone will get another performance, much like she did in her film, that she could get recognized again one of these days, just like what happened with Angela Bassett not winning for Wakanda Forever.
Still a
Um,
travesty.
yeah, and even getting that Governor's Ball Award just feels like a handout. That's not really, it doesn't, it feels like it was a cheap, let's just, nice honorable mention award. Um,
Exactly.
but other than that, I was definitely happy for Robert Downey Jr. Almost cried when he won. I knew Oppenheimer would win Best Picture. I knew Nolan was going to win Best Director, and I had already predicted Cillian Murphy was going to win Best Actor, so no surprises there. I did not like a lie, kind of thought maybe Gosling would win for Ken Enough, but obviously the shoo-in was with Billie Eilish with the song from that
Hmm.
same film, and again, no problem there. I mean, I'm not a Billie Eilish fan, but it seemed like it was worthwhile. It's a very meaningful song, of course. The thing that I love the most, though, throughout the show, besides Jimmy Kimmel's Trump bit, was the Batman segment with Danny
Of course.
DeVito, Arnold, and Michael Keaton. That was gold. And I know there are people now saying, "Oh, he should play Batman again." It's like, guys, they had one chance at it and they fucked it up. It ain't happening anymore. I'm sorry to say, unless the Zaslav guy decides to sell off Warner Brothers, and maybe somebody else will go and say, "Hey, let's do Batman Beyond." But I'm not holding my breath for it. Otherwise, it was a good show.
I mean, he could always still, if they make an animated movie, hey, I'm all for him voicing the character. And
Yeah, just do an animated Batman 89 like the new comic book. That people would actually, like me, would actually pay to see that.
they're letting something that they could capitalize on just uh, flow in the wind. So hopefully somebody, and not 20 years from now, finally realize, hey, why didn't we do this? You know, um, just since one of our news stories goes with what you just said, um, Michael Keaton says he nor Sony can truly explain what his character, the Vulture, was doing in the Morbius movie. So he's just as perplexed as the 5 people who paid to see that movie in the theater were.
So yeah, that's Sony's problem. They don't have a plan with the Spider-Man universe that they have outside the MCU. It's just we have these licenses, we want to hold on to Spider-Man, and because they've done so well with Tom Holland and their arrangement with Marvel Studios, they still think, oh, we could do the same thing with the multiverse, and we'll just take Michael Keaton's Vulture out, put it with Morbius, and have this whole setup for maybe a potential event picture, like maybe their Sinister Six movie that they can never get off the ground. And judging from the failure of Madam Web, it's clear they don't know what they're doing. There's nobody behind the wheel over there controlling and calling the shots. Is it Avi Arad? Is it that guy Matt Tolmach or Amy Pascal? Because nobody knows what the fuck they're doing over there. And the best thing they got going is probably just that other Venom movie, and then of course the Spider-Verse movie is their own separate thing. Um, it's time to let this go, guys. Because if you don't really know what the hell you're doing, then just stay out of way. Give Marvel the rights back, and then just make another Ghostbusters or another Karate Kid, because that's all you got right now.
I just wonder, do they just go by titles when writing these screenplays? Is there a research department that
I don't
actually...
think there is. I'm convinced 100% that Madam Web was made out of Chat GPT.
It had to be. Well, I didn't see it, so I can't say like what happened in the. But even just watching the trailer, it was just like, what is this? This makes no kind of sense. I'm just like, look, I'll admit I don't keep up on comic books, but I read them, as a teenager and in high school, and even I could come up with something a little more coherent from the history of Spider-Man that I know than these movies have been. Like Venom 1. After seeing that, I was just like, yeah, nobody knows anything. I'm like, so apparently on a Venom planet, there's high schools, and Venom was not popular. And I'm just like, what?
That's not what I remember in the comics.
I like, that makes no sense. Are we going... alien high schools? What? Like seriously. There was a screenwriter who actually was sitting there like, I cracked the code of this screenplay, man. The character of Venom, all in, and this is why. It's maybe it's true. Tom Hardy's just a mad genius. He saw potential there and he made it work.
No, I mean, he was perfectly cast for the part. It's just they don't have the creative direction to make that work. So you just get glorified B movies that just make money on the name. But I've seen both movies. They're nothing special. There's no quality to them, really. It's just crappy entertainment on a Saturday afternoon.
I'm just like, I don't get it, but it seems like it's going to keep going because Venom's probably going to make a whole crap load of money. And Sony's going to just be like, hey, here, we dug out this old villain. Let's make a movie with them. Now we all have to wait and see how Craven is going to turn out. Well, it's keeping in the superhero field. Batman 2 has been delayed till 2026. And it was obviously supposed to come out next year. I would like to think that it's being delayed. We're going to get the best quality. And I kind of like this whole thing of it not being rushed. And I guess the studio has faith that, everybody always will have interest in Batman. So even if the audience has to wait, they'll wait around. But I mean, to me, it's like, if we're going to wait this long, I hope it's really worth it, and not quite, as, I don't know. I don't know the right word, but no more emo-filled montages like we had in the last film where they try to update grunge songs to tell the audience, oh, he's the deep, dark down Bruce Wayne. And maybe a little, I like seeing the Batman and him, coming to grips and coming into being Batman. But, maybe a little more like of the playboy Bruce Wayne, the way he's supposed to be, to kind of keep people off the scent of him being Batman, instead of this, hey, I'm already kind of deep, dark, lost my parents, inherited the fortune. You think that tortured guy might be Batman? It's like, you're not really throwing anybody off with that characterization. And
so I'm going to go into a little bit of a conspiracy theory mode here.
okay.
And from what I've heard, the reason for the delay is because the sound stages at Warner's are all booked up for James Gunn's Superman movie, and that they don't have the time right now to accommodate the next Batman movie. It could even be possible, now I may be wrong on this, they could also be purposely trying to kill that Batman sequel so James Gunn can make The Brave and the Bold, but I can't prove that. I have no say in it. But as far as, whether or not it happens, that's another story. Look, I agree with you. If it results in a better quality sequel rather than a rush job, I'm all for it. I enjoyed the Matt Reeves Batman movie. I like the detective noir elements of it, and the fact that it's a year two Batman who's already pushed past the origin, pushed past all the, getting through the breaks of being a vigilante, but still rough around the edges. That's cool. And I also agree that, maybe this time around he should embrace his playboy persona, because that was the one problem with Pattinson, was that as his Batman, he was fine. As his Bruce Wayne, though, I could look at this guy and say, oh yeah, he's totally Batman. Look how dark and depressed he is. He's got to be that guy. And you can't have that. That was the key to Michael Keaton's success, and even Bale to a certain degree, because Bale had to play up toward that American Psycho persona in order for people to be thrown off into thinking, that he would be the guy. And another thing that may happen here that I'm also hearing about is they may set up Robin. They may actually do it in this one. And
I hope not.
That could create some conflict with The Brave and the Bold.
I'm just like, it's sort of like Mean Girls with Fetch. It's like, why do you guys keep trying to make Robin happen so badly? Why can't Batman? It's sort of like, why it's like Batman has to be in a romantic comedy almost, like he needs a partner, he can't be alone. And are you just already trying to do the buddy comedy thing with, Batman? That worked so well when they introduced Chris O'Donnell's Robin into the movies.
Back credit card.
It's like, come on. And what, some kind of romantic conflict over some female villain or heroine character? And
they need to sell McDonald's toys.
And not to mention, even if you brung Robin into this deep, dark night, let's face it, it will obviously show what he was really meant to be, a decoy. Because you're in the dark and you're wearing yellow, light green, and red. It's like, this is who's beating you up? Or this is supposed to be who's kind of helping Batman to beat you up? It's like, I mean, he could be Nightwing, but then you would have to get into a whole nother storyline, so I'm like, which I wouldn't put past Warner Brothers. But either way, I'm just like, well, I'm going to be there at the theater anyway for this movie. So the postponement, it doesn't matter. It just means got to wait a little longer.
Oh, and I want a villain that hasn't been seen on the big screen yet.
Yeah, I'm fine with. I just don't want the usual array of villains that we've seen. I'm like,
no Joker, no Riddler, just somebody new.
It'll probably be somebody. They really want to be inventive, though. That would make the movie much more expensive. Clayface.
Yeah, I agree. Clayface would be great, or Man-Bat.
Killer Croc, maybe.
Well, they screwed that up with Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah. Again, still keeping in the superheroes, the Marvel Sony Spider-Man 4 is still going ahead, but now one person who's new on the list of potential directors is Justin Lin of Fast and Furious fame. And
so, yeah, he's on the list. I've also heard Drew Goddard, who I think would be the better choice since he did the show running for Daredevil Season 1. But if it's Lin, I had no problem with it. I mean, he can handle action. He can handle, taking a genre like he did with Star Trek. And I actually kind of like Star Trek Beyond. So, yeah, I mean, I have no problem. John Watts, he did his thing with the trilogy of the Spider-Man in high school years. It is time now, with Spider-Man being more older and obviously nobody remembers Peter Parker. That requires a different eye behind the camera to translate that to the screen. So if he could do it, great. But personally, I think Goddard would be better because I think he could take it in more like the Todd McFarlane era of Spider-Man. And I'm talking about like when they brought in Venom and the more darker villains in the late 80s and 90s. That would be the movie I would want to see.
I don't know where the movie's going to go. I mean, the more Spider-Man, less Peter Parker kind of takes away from Tom Holland's skill and charisma set a little. That's what those other films were more built on. But, I mean, I don't mind them moving on. I mean, I'll admit I didn't watch many of the Fast and Furious movies that Justin Lin directed. And, he seems very, like, when you watch his other few features, he seems very fast-paced and commercial. And I guess if that's the direction they want to go with the films, like more action beats, I have no problem with it. But if you're trying to do more character work, I don't know if he would be my first pick. But you got to keep in mind, before he took on Spider-Man, John Watts, really, all we knew was what? Cop Car?
Yeah.
With Kevin Bacon, and nothing in that movie would make me sit there and say, Spider-Man director, so I give everybody the benefit of the doubt because you never know where they might fit in. So, or what the vision exactly is for with this script. So I mean, if he's on the list for directors, it's not the worst choice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind, even if it does end up being Drew Goddard, not the worst choice. So we'll just see where it ends up. Also, Jerry Bruckheimer, says that the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie is going to be a reboot. Like, who was really sitting there like, 6 times the charm, Johnny? Finally, we're going to make a reboot. or a comeback with this 6th time Captain Jack Sparrow. But I'm also wondering if it's going to be a reboot, are we going to have a Captain Jack Sparrow-like character only played by a new actor? And
yeah, so this has been going on for a while, and Johnny Depp has gone on record during the civil trial of Amber Heard saying that no matter how much money that they offer him, he wouldn't do it. And honestly, the last 2 Pirates movies didn't do that great. People love him as the character. I think he was phenomenal, and it obviously changed his life. And kids all over the world love him. And he's still, a thing I appreciate about him is the fact that he still goes to hospitals and visiting sick children dressed up as Captain Jack Sparrow. So I always have my eternal respect for him for that. That said, though, I think in terms of the franchise, I don't think anybody's really asking for any more of these. And we've heard for rumors of Margot Robbie could be the new lead. Now they were talking about Io Etta
Edaberry?
Edaberry might be the new lead character. And I'm just like, regardless of whether it's a dude or if it's a girl that's the new lead, who cares? This is the thing about it is you got to remember it was a big risk to do that first movie when pirate movies were considered disastrous, from that Walter Matthau Pirates movie to Cutthroat Island, and this was the game changer because Johnny Depp did all sorts of out of the box stuff that made that movie, this billion-dollar franchise. So to take him out, put somebody else in, I don't think it's going to have the same impact. I don't think it's going to land. And, if it's Margot Robbie, I'm like, do your own thing. Stop with the tent poles. You're more talented than that. And the same thing with Miss Edaberry. You're very talented. You're on your way up. You don't need this. You should be doing like your own shit. This is not going to do well with or without Johnny.
I don't know. Well, you're old enough. Do you remember when there was that Peter Pan cartoon that used to come on Fox 5?
Yes, Peter Pan the Pirates.
Yes, I actually liked that series. This is what I think they should do with the Pirates of the Caribbean. Make it into an animated series, Just
I'm shocked they haven't done that.
These days, they'll do anything to make it a movie rather than a series half the time. They still keep thinking that, I guess there's still enough juice in the tank to keep making these things into movies. And it's like, stop it. There will be, look, I'm not going to lie. Maybe it'll have a strong opening weekend, but it's going to die after that, because most people will be like, well, what I thought was going to happen with Venom will be looky-loos and be like, okay, let's see how messed up this is. It's as messed up as I thought. Let's not. I don't know what the kids like in Venom, so.
It's like, Jesus. There was a Mummy cartoon, but no Pirates cartoon, not even Indiana Jones cartoon, and they were screaming for this. You could have expanded all kinds of adventures and stories, even if you didn't have the original actors doing the voices, because they'd be too expensive, but people would have eaten that up.
Everybody's so willing to jump onto the Star Wars cartoons, but yet nobody's like, hey, Jerry, instead of spending another $300 million making another sequel, why don't we size it down, maybe $10 million animated, and just put it on one of hey, Netflix needs better ratings, put it straight through there. Or Tubi, they're coming through these days.
I'll tell you the truth, if you do it animated, Johnny will do it. I don't think money would be a problem.
Exactly. And, he gets to drink and do whatever in the studio, keep him away from the women so he doesn't abuse any. And,
the video games, the Kingdom Hearts games, he provides the voice for Jack Sparrow.
So, see, there you go. And you can even call in the whole old cat. Orlando Bloom can even get a paycheck. It's, Keira Knightley can, start working again. Penelope Cruz, we can even bring her character back.
Jeffrey Rush? Yeah, bring it all back.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
It was Stellan Skarsgård who played Orlando Bloom's pirate dad, right?
I think so. I haven't watched him in a while.
Okay, I was gonna say him. Bill Nye.
Yeah, I remember Bill Nighy.
He shoot. Well, we know he's working. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, all these people could like easily come back, even if it's just a voice cameo. You don't have to be in like all 30 episodes or whatever, however they make. See, another good pitch. Listen to us. Moving on. Jennifer Lawrence turned down the opportunity to be the lead in the new Jurassic Park movie. So now Scarlett Johansson is in talks to star in these films. After, you know, her big speech about, I'm tired of being in franchises. And it's like, really? So, look, I'm not going to see this movie anyway. So, I mean, I liked Gareth Edwards' last film. Obviously, we've reviewed it on here, the creator, but I'm like, this was not the next project I was thinking he'd be going with. But, you know, I mean, no, I can't even say I'd probably watch it. If the trailer looked really good, maybe I'll watch it on stream. But, like, I haven't seen a new Jurassic Park movie since the first one they had with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas. That was the last one I've seen. And I don't feel like I've missed anything since.
No, you haven't missed anything. And to be honest, I'm like, I have no problem with a female lead in a Jurassic Park movie. It's just, where do you go with it? What else can you do? And the last movie, as I mentioned on the last episode, was now the humans coexist with the dinosaurs, and they brought back all the OG characters from Jurassic Park 1. Where else is there to go? What else is there to do? It's like the Fast and the Furious now. And I don't see any reason to really be excited for this.
This is one of those franchises where I'm just like, stop it. It's like the Terminator franchise. It's just like, stop. Just let it go.
Put it on ice.
Yes, we're fine with where we're at with these movies. You know, The Peacemaker, season 1 won't be canon, but James Gunn says season 2, of course, will reach right into the DC universe that he's setting up. And
nothing this man says makes any sense whatsoever. And again, I am a James Gunn fan. I love his work.
You sure?
No, seriously. I love what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. I love the movie Super. Okay, I think he is a talented filmmaker. But Jesus Christ, everything that comes out of your mouth when you go on threads is a contradiction. Okay, so you're rebooting Superman. You're doing your own little Batman thing that's not tied to the Joker or to the Matt Reeves Batman. But you're going to keep everything you had your handprints on, including Amanda Waller, including Peacemaker. I don't know how you're going to explain any of this to say that Peacemaker season 1 was in the old DCU that Zack Snyder created, but now all of a sudden we're saying, oh, this is going to be the new DCU, the same guy, but it's not going to have any connection with what happened before. Like, it is so confusing for me even to explain it. I get tongue-tied. It's just like that scene in The Flash with Michael Keaton making the spaghetti and the spaghetti turning into mesh. That's basically what this is. And I don't know where this is going, what he is doing, and I just wish you just go make your Superman movie and stop talking until you're ready to put that film out and you go on your press tour. Or if you have like a little bit of another, your show reel of here's what's coming from DC Studios. Other than that, shut the fuck up.
Well, I mean, he had that cast photo that he put out.
Okay, that's all well and nice, but stop confusing the shit out of the DC fans.
Mr. Gunn. Hopefully he'll be like, I'll make you eat your words, Joseph.
I wonder if he has Asperger's, just like Christopher Nolan does.
Yeah, but see, Christopher Nolan doesn't give as many interviews or go.
No, he doesn't have to. He's Christopher Nolan. He's a genius.
Okay, moving on. There will be a Super Mario Brothers 2, another story. And, I'm sure everybody's returning. Because why not? And there's like no one who's in there. I don't know. They didn't treat me right on the first movie, or I didn't get along with that other asshole on the first film, even though we were only in voice booths.
Nobody got drunk and got into a car accident.
So Seth Rogen was on his best behavior, in other words. Let's see what else. News stories, because I'm trying to keep it all superhero related, so we can get all those stories out of the way. Actually, I think we made it through all the superheroes, so there will
Yay.
be. Oh wait, I was wrong. One more. This one you've already warned me you might have a bit of a rant about. It's Patty Jenkins. Her Star Wars Rogue Squadron movie is back on, but there will be obviously no Wonder Woman sequel in her future, or I'm guessing the DC future. And
So I'm not surprised about the Wonder Woman thing. I mean, obviously they're going in a different direction. Likely they're going to recast down the line when they're ready to bring back Diana Prince. So it makes sense to have a different team involved with that. But the Rogue Squadron thing is still the thing that really gets me very angry, only because they did that whole presentation back in 2020 and seemed like this was going to come out by 2023. Didn't happen. And then you heard all these reports that it was on, it was canceled, it's on, it's canceled. Now she's going out there and saying it's still on. But most of these scoopers and most of these insiders said, no, it's not happening. What is she talking about? And this is just like what happened with Wonder Woman 3 when they first had that whole back and forth about how, she had a nice talk with James Gunn and Peter Safran about it, and then goes to the public and says, oh, no, they don't understand story. They don't understand shit. So it's like she's being her own publicist right now. And until there's actually a real announcement that Rogue Squadron is happening, I don't buy it. I'm sorry to say. And she should probably be another one that, much like Margot Robbie, should just do her own original project.
I agree with that, because I'm like, it took her so long to make a movie after, like Monster and all that it feels like she's doing the same thing. Like between Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 2, though, that was like the fastest she's made a movie, a project. So my thing is, instead of sitting around waiting for this Rogue Squadron, if it even happens, make your own original project. Even Nia DaCosta, while she was making the Marvels, had another project going. So I'm like, I don't understand why she's like focusing on this one project at a time instead of like putting many logs in the fire, and whichever one comes up first, that's the one you focus on, at the time. So again, only she can answer that question, Next, we have, one more superhero story. Josh Brolin, who starred in the infamous bomb Jonah Hex movie, claims that he knew the Jonah Hex movie was going to be a piece of shit even before the studio bothered, started messing with it. And he says it's not because of the director, who he says was, excellent caliber. It was just the whole filmmaking, the script, and trying to decide where the story was even going to go. He realized this is not really what he signed up for, or, at the heart of what the character appears in DC as. And
yeah, I did some writing on this for Superhero Hype. And yeah, I didn't see Jonah Hex, but I know it was one of those rush jobs where it was like, let's get the hottest talent we can at that time. So it was him and unfortunately Megan Fox coming off Transformers. This was really before they actually had like clear ideas about superhero movies and building universes. And so it was just like, this was a whole all over the mess production. I think the only silver lining about it, though, is that, he admits the movie was bad, but he did actually end up making amends with the director, who had a health issue some years back. And, obviously they were forgiving with each other about the terrible experience that they had on that film. But I think they should tackle Jonah Hex again down the line, obviously with a different actor and a different setup. But this was just like with Green Lantern and some of the other DC movies where it was outside of Batman and Superman. Nobody knew what the hell they had.
Yep. I mean, in James Gunn's DC universe, maybe they can make it kind of the dark-hearted kind of tale that it was meant to be, instead of, let's make this family friendly, with whatever big name we can get to sign on to this project. Because was Michael Fassbender in it?
I think he was a villain.
This was even an early film role for him. From there, our favorite actor, Mark Wahlberg, has I guess doing press for his latest release, was talking about good old days on Boogie Nights, where apparently an ill-tempered Burt Reynolds, who already didn't really want to sign on to the film, and then he didn't feel like Paul Thomas Anderson, being a new director, was really going to be like good. So Burt Reynolds, I guess to amuse himself, wanted to get, or did at least a scene with a heavy Irish accent for his character. And he did it throughout the whole day of filming. And then the next day, he started saying his lines like he's supposed to. But then during the last week of filming, Paul Thomas Anderson even asked Burt Reynolds, do you want to match the rest of the film and redo the scene in a normal voice? Or do you want me to put that scene in the movie with you having a ridiculous Irish accent for no reason? Obviously, Burt Reynolds did the scene the way it was supposed to and got an Oscar nomination for it, which semi-revitalized his career until Striptease. And then, after that, Burt was kind of his own worst enemy. So I just wanted to put that in because I thought that was an interesting little story to include here. Talking about bad co-stars, Miss Sharon Stone claims that producer Robert Evans pressured her to sleep with Billy Baldwin so they could have more believable chemistry in the movie Sliver. Because I'm like, yeah, that was the problem with that movie, was the chemistry.
I never saw Sliver all the way through, but it doesn't surprise me, because this is Robert Evans we're talking about. This is the guy that obviously had a couple of affairs, had some drug issues in the 70s, as hot as he was.
70s.
Well, yeah, probably throughout his
80s,
life. Yeah, 80s, 90s. He did the Get High on Yourself campaign with all the ABC stars. Remember that? And there was this infamous story I heard about, and again, I have no proof of this. I've only read this in a book, that we know he produced a Cotton Club, and there was that whole infamous murder that he was involved, or at least had some association with, because it was an investor that was murdered. But Sylvester Stallone was supposed to star in this movie at one point, and Stallone supposedly pulled out. But they said one of the reasons he pulled out was that Robert Evans showed him photographs of a girl that Stallone was seeing at the time, and it was very explicit photographs of Evans himself with these girls doing some explicit stuff, and a freaked out Sly. So if that's true, this might back it up.
Okay, well, I just like that Sliver is more infamous for its behind the scenes stories than the actual film. Now, see, Sliver, I remember at the time when it came out, because this was Sharon Stone's next big film. So it was like, ooh, what's this movie going to be like? And though I did not see it in the theaters, I have seen it many times on home video, cable. And I mean, I hate to say it, the most memorable thing about the film is the soundtrack, UB40's cover of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. But it's a good guilty pleasure movie, because you got to remember, William Baldwin was a replacement for River Phoenix at the time. And River Phoenix, even though he was older, still pretty much looked like a college student. So it would have been really hard to picture him in this film. And then you have Tom Berenger in this movie as really an extended cameo. He's not even in it that much. And I mean, just the whole central thing of this. The only other cool thing about this is that I'm sure after this movie, every rich person wanted a surveillance system like that in their house, that this guy apparently had for the whole apartment building. And the movie, I don't even remember how he has all this money. Is he supposed to be a tech genius or something?
Yeah, I thought he was just like a security expert or just a freak.
Again, it's William Baldwin. Does that look like a security expert?
Did you watch Fair Game?
Exactly. He wasn't even believable as a cop. Well, no, he's actually more believable as a cop than a. Wait, but see, when you say security expert, are we talking a physical security expert or technical security expert?
Technical support like you get from Best Buy.
Yeah, does no offense to Mr. Baldwin, does he look like the guy you'd want to go to at Best Buy to tell you how to do something with your computer? Or even tell you
go to City for that.
Or does he even look like the guy you'd go to help you hook up your wireless on your smart TV? Maybe Alec Baldwin if he's not carrying a gun.
Probably like in an X-rated movie of a cable repairman up to a woman's house.
I'm like, he's supposed to be the security expert, but he was one of the first people I've ever seen wear a T-shirt with a suit jacket in that movie. So, and this is our security expert.
Well, that's a pretty common thing.
Not in 1994. It wasn't. Anyway, obviously, this is going to have to be a future deep dive.
Oh, Lord.
Because there's just too much to talk about when it comes to that movie and the problem. But anyway, the next story we will go to is, the developing story of Scream 7. Even as a fan, I'm just like, why? Just let it die with the last film, because you're never going to get Melissa Barham or Jenna Ortega back. So what did the producers do? Hey, Kevin Williamson, you ever want to make a movie and direct it? Now's your chance. Oh, guess what? Sidney Prescott is coming back as our lead after they probably drove a truckload of money up to Neve Campbell's house. And since they got Neve Campbell back, why not bring in Courtney Cox? What's she doing? And now they're even so desperate that, being that he was in Thanksgiving, they even want to bring back Patrick Dempsey's character, Detective, whatever his name was, in the least favorite of the franchise, Part 3. I'm still waiting to hear they called Parker Posey and got her into this. Then I'd be interested. Then you'd have me in the theater for Scream 7. But the way this is going, it's going to be like a guilty pleasure without the pleasure, because I want to see where it's going to go. But I, like everybody else, have that bad taste in my mouth after you fired Melissa Barham for, especially for such a stupid reason, So that's my feelings on Scream 7. Now, what are you feeling about Scream 7?
Well, the first thing right off the bat is good for Neve Campbell, because she's about to get paid. So I'm definitely happy for her for that. I think as far as this movie, it is clearly desperation for the simple fact that, they can't get the stars of the current direction of this franchise for the reasons we've mentioned in previous episodes. So we got to go back to legacy characters, because that's what's going to help to boost the box office. But again, where are you going to go with this? What's the hook? And I'm thinking they could do the Resident Evil thing where you have events taking place simultaneously. So maybe what you could do here is you have this movie happening at the same time as Scream 6. So we're seeing where Sydney was this whole time when she couldn't go up to New York to help out the kids. And then maybe you still have Courtney Cox after she just got stabbed up, and, clearly now we know she's not dead. She probably makes her way down to Florida or someplace, and all the shit starts up again. And then you have like your tropical setting for a Scream movie, which is what I think they should have been doing this whole time, is put it on a boat, put it on a tropical island. Let's do something different than going back to Woodsboro or the Hollywood angle with the third one and the New York City thing in this last movie. Because, you need a tune-up. And let's find out who makes the voice changer and how every killer knows to use the same voice. Because that's the thing that still gets to me, that everybody knows how to use the same voice with that one voice changer. And it's not like we're mixing and matching here. So let's see that angle. Paramount, call me up, because I can help write this and I won't turn my back on it.
Well, my thing is also, I hope they stick with the kind of famous person dies in the early scene. But here's my only request. No offense to Samara Weaving, but pick somebody who a worldwide audience would actually know who they are. You know what I mean? It's like you had Drew Barrymore, you had Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps kind of in the second. Huh?
Melissa McCarthy.
Exactly, because at least everybody would at least know who's supposed to be the star. You know, like with Samara Weaving, it was like, okay, this is interesting. We know who she is because we've seen her movies, but like a general audience is like, who's that? And that she kind of looks like Margot Robbie, but she's not. So,
or could be who's the girl from Saturday Night Live that was dating Chris Evans?
Jenny Slate. And
yeah, it could be Jenny Slate.
I mean, I guess people know her as stand-up and on that Amy Poehler show, Parks and Recreation. I say, hey,
somebody outside the box.
Aubrey Plaza, but she's too busy.
Yeah, nah, she's too cool for that.
Yeah, probably. But, other news we have,
Aquafina.
That would probably get the audience excited. Speaking of comedy, Christopher McDonald claims that there is a Happy Gilmore sequel already written and just waiting to go. This will be one of the few times Adam Sandler's actually made a sequel movie, if true. And my thing is, it could be interesting if they play with the premise enough. Keep in mind, this is Adam Sandler, though. An Adam Sandler comedy. So, you know, usually it's not like, hey, great, smart premise. So I think I would have been more excited for this movie 10 years ago than I am now. Because I'm like, what? Scooter McGavin came out of, like, the old folks' homes to try to win again against an elderly Happy Gilmore. And does he still have anger issues now, just maybe more caused by his children or grandchildren at this point? And most importantly, is Julie Bowen coming back? Because she needs a better movie, Adam Sandler movie, than that Halloween movie Sandler stuck her in.
Oh, I didn't know she was in that.
Yes, unfortunately.
Nice yeah, I'm mixed on this, to be honest. There's a part because I love Happy Gilmore. That's really the movie that made me a fan more than Billy Madison did.
I agree.
It would be nice to see him revisit it, and obviously all the jokes and member berries. But then that's also the reason why I'd be afraid of it, because we've seen this with that unnecessary Joe Dirt sequel. We've seen this with Wayne's World 2. We see with a lot of like these comedy sequels where they try to double down on the things we remember, and it's never as funny or as enjoyable as we remember it. Obviously, you're not going to have Carl Weathers. Unfortunately, they'll probably make some reference of some kind. But yeah, I'm just, if they can really make it different and original, then I'd say, you know, I'm all for it. But if it's just going to be member berries and callbacks, I don't think it's going to be that good.
I'm just like hoping it, like, if only Ray Liotta wouldn't have passed away. I would have liked to have seen him more as the villain in a Happy Gilmore sequel.
Do you have one suggestion though? To top the fight scene with Bob Uecker, I think Happy should fight Kenny G.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna go with Michael Bolton, but that
would be just as good.
So, and somewhere I feel like Andy Samberg is gonna be in this movie. I don't know why.
You know, they'll all be thrown in there. Colin Jost and Pete Davidson.
Well, you know who probably won't be? Kenan Thompson. Next. Jeffrey Wright has joined Denzel Washington in the remake of Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, directed by Spike Lee, though they haven't said which role it is. I just like that now when Jeffrey Wright joins a project because of being nominated for an Oscar, it's like big news, like, you know, when a star joins something. So I'm happy he's finally getting that amount of credit. I've never seen High and Low, So I don't know what that movie is about, but I am excited Denzel and Spike Lee making a movie together. And if it's a remake, I take it it's a studio project, so it's going to have a good budget. So as long as it's not, Old Boy, I think we have a good chance of this maybe being at least memorable.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Him, Denzel together, Spike Lee. It sounds like it could be pretty epic, so I'm all for it.
Okay, and we also have news that director Peter Weir is retiring from making movies. I guess he's saying that he can't really do it anymore. I guess the time and mentality and focus it takes to make films. And it's a shame because this guy's directed classic after classic. Truman Show, a personal favorite of mine, Master and Commander with Russell Crowe. Probably one of the last few Russell Crowe movies I liked. He directed Dead Poets Society, He's the only Australian popular director who was never approached probably to direct a Mad Max type film, So yeah, I'm like, oh man, Peter, because I always wondered, when is he going to make another movie? And now we'll never get another one. I mean, Walkabout, his movies, they take their time, but they're usually very well worth it. How are you feeling about Peter Weir retiring?
I'm not surprised. He's a craftsman. He's old school. And he made the films Witness and The Mosquito Coast, which for our viewers, I highly recommend The Mosquito Coast if you could ever see it, because I still think to this day that is Harrison Ford's best acting performance. That was kind of overlooked because everybody thought he overacted that performance as Ali Fox, but no, he was excellent and should have been nominated for an Oscar. Yeah, they said that for a while he had other projects he was trying to do, and certain people in the business, I guess, were kind of making it difficult for him to keep going. So he just said, you know what, I'm too old for this and I'm out. So, look, my hat off to him. He's a legend. He's made some bangers in terms of classics. The Truman Show, I think, is one of the best movies of the 90s, and certainly a high point that, for Jim Carrey standards, it's one of the few movies that I could actually go back to and rewatch, because as much as I love Jim Carrey's earlier comedies, they are kind of getting dated for me at this point. But I think The Truman Show still holds up today, and I think it's a retirement well deserved.
Well, I mean, at least he didn't do like Adrian Lynn and make one film and then you're just like, oh, this is so bad. Yeah, maybe you should just hang it up, or go into mediocrity of projects that are beneath you. Like I feel like what happened towards with Alan Parker's career towards.
I was going to say Alan Parker, yeah.
Yeah, because he was one of my favorite directors, but then during the last years of his life, he's making things like The Life of and Death of David Gale. Yeah. I understand Kevin Spacey was an Oscar-winning actor at the time, but still, you're better than this material. At least he didn't direct Last Dance with Sharon Stone. So, yes, enjoy your retirement, Peter Weir. You have rightfully deserved it. Next, to a man who will never be compared to Peter Weir, Zack Snyder, to make his 300 series with gay material and overtones. Yeah. My thing is, was that your selling point of the series? Hey, 300 as a series, and people are like, yeah, we kind of had those, gladiator type shows. He's like, but this one will have gayness. And it's like, okay. And he's like, if you turn. So I'm like, was that the selling point? This is after they turned down his Fountainhead, Ayn Rand project, by the way. And
I like the first 300. It was innovative for its time. I don't think people really ran out to see the sequel when it came out, and I still haven't seen it to this day.
No, I have.
So I think maybe okay, the Snyder fans who love everything he does, including Rebel Moon, will probably watch it. But I think for everybody else, it's like, who cares? Nobody needs to see this.
I'm like, I will see 300 the series probably if it became critically acclaimed. Because look, I didn't expect to watch The Gentleman, the series by Guy Ritchie, and I ended up watching it. I actually liked it. I mean, but then again, I liked the movie too. So it took more than 2 episodes to get into it, but still. And I have faith in the project as long as it's like Zack Snyder might direct just the pilot, and then somebody else actually show runs and writes the series. I think it'll have faith, because if his whole thing is, hey, every episode is going to be filmed just like how 300 was. I'm like, yeah, that worked at the time, but people know how to film like that since then. So other than, maybe the homoerotic stuff, what are you really bringing to the table with this series? Like, who are we following? Who are the characters? What's it really about? Is this like Rome on HBO? Or is
That's
this
the
like
thing too. You have all these shows where Rome, you had Spartacus on Stars. What's going to make this any different? Oh, it's going to be woke and gay. That's not enough. Maybe for the ladies, but not for the.
Well, my thing is just Zack Snyder behind anything. I just feel like it's just going to be overindulgent no matter what. I think even gay people watch the series and be like, this is like a little too much for me. This is, don't get me wrong, I like man-on-man action, but damn. That's what the viewers will feel like. Our next story, I know you haven't watched it yet, but Euphoria Season 3 has been postponed yet again, and all the actors have been told that they can seek, other projects in the time being, because Sam Levinson hasn't finished writing the series. And I know after Season 2, the whole thing was they were going to leap a few years into the future and take it out of high school. But I didn't literally think by the time they start filming it, the actors would start finally looking the age they're supposed to be for their characters by now. Because this is one of the problems when you have auteur-driven television series. It's fine when you have one season, because the auteur has probably already planned it out and written all those scripts. But now, in between, the weekend show, The Idol, now Sam Levinson has to handle another season of a show. And since there's no writer's room, it's all him. And he has to think of how many times can I keep Zendaya getting an Emmy for her storyline and exploitively film Sydney Sweeney, because that's basically what the show has boiled down to now. They lost, can't remember his name, the actor who played the drug dealer on the show. And so they already lost one cast member. Jacob Elordi, Sydney Sweeney, Zendaya, they all have like film projects up the wazoo. So, and this is, again, my main thing is this is the best argument. I don't mind a show having a creator or a co-creator, but this is why you should also have a writer's room. So you don't run into problems like this, especially when you're on it's a hit show and you're asking fans, oh, by the way, wait 3 years for the next season. So that, I know you've never really watched the show, but do you have anything to say about this, or I guess the subject of it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched enough of it, particularly the first season and maybe like the last half of the second. And what I could say is that this might not be a good thing for having everybody to wait this long, because listen, Zendaya's doing big films. Sydney Sweeney is already like at the point where, despite Madam Web, she's got a hot career right now. It's going to get difficult to schedule everybody, or even if they start asking for more money to do another year. So it wouldn't surprise me if a number of actors, even if they stay, I think there are going to be others that are going to walk, and you may have to retool this somehow. There may have to be spin-offs, there may have to be like, a different angle or different set of characters, but I feel like there's going to be more challenges than just getting the writing together. I think it's really going to be, can they get everybody on the same page to do another season?
Well, I mean, I feel like if they do another season, it will most likely be the last season.
Yeah, I don't think they go beyond season 3.
Yes. My thing is, I just sit here when it comes to this show. I like it. Look, I watch it. I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say I don't. But if it's better than season 2, great, because it just felt like season 2 was a little bit more of grasping at straws and more style over substance, so to speak. Because like season 1, I thought it was good for what it was. Season 2, it felt like, okay, I'm more into style. And, Zendaya's the producer, so she's never going to appear in a sex scene or be nude. But it also felt like the director all of a sudden discovered Sydney Sweeney's body, because that's what season 2 felt like, was like, hey, look at what, it's sort of like Kanye West with his current wife. Like, what kind of embarrassing, barely there outfit can I put her in this week? So it was just like, it got to a point where, on Quiet on the Set, which we'll discuss on a future episode, it just started getting uncomfortable to watch after a while, where you're like, yeah, I don't think a high school girl would wear that to school. Or why do I have to see her doing that? So, and well, we all have our comments on Sam Levinson. Okay, and next story, we have P.T. Anderson's new film with Leonardo DiCaprio will be coming out in August 2025. And there's a rumor that this movie's budget is $175 million. And still the movie's plot is kind of still a mystery. There are plenty of rumors what it's supposed to be. Like, it's supposedly based on a Thomas Pynchon novel. But still no real news. I mean, obviously it has a heavy cast of African-American females in the cast other than him, but that's all we really know about the project.
So from what I heard from a particular scooper, this movie might actually be pretty controversial, because apparently it may involve an alternate universe where the MAGA movement started way back before recent time. It could be as early as the 60s, and seeing like the hippie movement go up against it. I don't know how true that is, but it sounds like, yeah, they want to set up something that could be along the lines of like a Civil War type of movie.
Well, that will be interesting. That would explain why Leo DiCaprio signed on to it.
And why there's so many black women in it.
Exactly. I mean, I'm interested to see what it is. Because, again, P.T. Anderson can make a lot out of nothing, because no offense to Licorice Pizza, but realistically, looking back at it, it's still a great film. But let's face it, very small story. But, dipped in Hollywood history. So it will be an interesting project. I'm hoping his wife, Maya Rudolph, is in it. That's my one wish, because I think she's talented and very underrated.
Yeah.
So other people should definitely cast her. And that's it for the news story. But unfortunately, we have a bit of sadness to deal with. Legendary character actor M. Emmett Walsh recently died. I mean, the man was 91 years old, so he gave his all, literally, into his career. His last film, I believe, was the Glass Onion, A Knives Out movie. That was the last time he appeared on screen. But I mean, let's face it, we've all seen M. Emmett Walsh in something. I mean, for some of you who are film aficionados, Blood Simple, he's the main villain, the detective. For kids, I don't believe I'm referencing this movie, Camp Nowhere with Christopher Lloyd. He's the guy hunting him down.
One of the worst movies ever, by the way.
I will not co-sign on that, because that film gave us so much talent, like future cult leader Andrew Keegan, Marnie Patterson, Jonathan Jackson, Jessica Alba, Anyway, he was in many more better films. He steals a scene in Raising Arizona when in the beginning montage when Nicolas Cage is trying to work a normal job and he's telling some story, and Emmett Walsh, his co-worker, telling some story about some mother crapper, Bill Roberts, not Bill Camp, you know. He's usually the lovable old guy, but crotchety in all these films. But, I mean, his biggest role was Blood Simple, but my favorite will be Raising Arizona, even if it's just a one-scene cameo. Andre, do you have any fond memories of Mr. Emmett Walsh, other than the cool repeating name, Emmett Walsh?
Well, the crazy thing is, there was a time where I thought he had already died years ago, because I remember him in Wild Wild West and thought that was his last movie. But I was actually mixing him up with his brother JT, who had died the year before after he did The Negotiator. So, yeah, that was my bad on that part. But no, I remember him being like that familiar face you saw in so many movies, the ones that you mentioned. He was also in Blade Runner. He was Harrison Ford's boss in that.
Oh, yes.
And there were a couple of other movies. I can't remember them all off the top of my head right now, but basically the ones you just mentioned, a lot of Coen brother films, and anything where he plays like a boss or a villain or, you know, like a judge. You know, he was always a welcome presence in any movie that he was in, and certainly a missed character actor to see in movies today.
Yeah, he was like up there with Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
You know? Like he's
Paul
one of the
Dooley, you know, all those guys.
Yeah, guys you would like just want to see just in the background of a scene, just so they could share scenes. Like I know it's not the greatest movie, like the movie The Big Bounce with Owen Wilson, where you had like Willie Nelson, Harry Dean Stanton, Morgan Freeman all sharing a scene together. You know, it's like, yeah, this movie's not that great, but just the magnitude of all of them sharing a scene together, you know. It's just like so awesome. So I kind of
a joint. I gotta wonder
if Willie's involved, most likely. So it's just like you informing me that JT Walsh was his brother is like I never put two and two together with them. JT Walsh was another one who was, when he died, was kind of a surprise that came out of nowhere. But you know, it's like, I don't know, like we're losing all I mean, obviously they're up there in years, so, you know, they have to, you know, natural design. But, you know, you still like, you start wondering who's going to be our next versions of these, you know? Like, who's going to be our Robert Forresters? Who's going to be our Harry Dean Stantons?
I'm still shocked Tom Skerritt's in his 90s, and he never looked like that old in the 80s.
No, like you telling me, I think when we were discussing Top Gun, his age was like such a shock. I'm like, he's that old?
Yeah. He must be that nice with a guy. Like, he's got some good ass genes.
Yeah, because I'm like, what? Well, I mean, I was shocked to hear what William Gunn is still alive, you know, and working, you know, and he's 91. So I'm like, and I didn't think he was dead, but I'm like, I noticed I haven't seen him on screen in a while. I'm like, you know, is he going to be like that guy Raleigh from Amen, or he's going to still be playing roles in the background of just old men? Or what was his name? The guy from the Colonel from, not Colonel, Mr. Gaines from Different World. And
well, he's dead.
I know, but remember, like he was in a J-Lo movie. What was it, The Wedding Planner? And I was like, he's alive, you know. So I guess I'm guessing, you know, you never know until you officially hear it that, you know, they're not working, you know, or alive or dead. It's like, Harold Sylvester, work, you know. I want
come on the show. We want to make sure you're healthy.
Exactly. We want to celebrate your career. So
seriously underrated actor, by the way.
I agree. I just watched Hit List with John Michael Vincent and Rip Torn with him in it. And yes, that is rest in peace, Emmett Walsh. Now we move on to the next phase, which is trailers. Let's see, where should we start off with? Okay, well, the new Crow trailer premiered recently, and Alex Proyas obviously is upset because he feels like, pretty much the character of Eric Draven should have died with the passing of Brandon Lee, which I do, agree with. I know this is supposed to be a reboot. I'm like, there have been so many Crow sequels. You had to use Eric Draven again. You couldn't have used like maybe a different character, because I'm like, there's been 5 different Crows since then. And I mean, even though Eric Draven was brought back for the series with Mark Dacascos, which, I am, it's a guilty pleasure. I'm just hoping this time they incorporate Skull Cowboy like how they wanted to with the first film, but obviously they couldn't. I will admit, the trailer, violent as hell, interesting looking. I'm not loving Bill Skarsgård's look in this movie, but I am liking FKA Twigs' look, but that's how FKA Twigs usually dresses. So there is interest in this film, but I'm probably going to wait for streaming to watch it. And how are you feeling about this new Crow reboot trailer?
Well, one thing I do agree with you about is, for all the uproar about it, where was all the uproar with all the sequels that they did that were just never good, never could live up to the original? It's just, yeah, this was coming. They were going to reboot this one day, and not in a good way. And I'm looking at this and I'm just like, listen, I like Bill Skarsgård, but he reminds me of a wrestler right now named Darby Allin in AEW, who's got like that same kind of gothy look. And this isn't doing it for me. It's just, compared to the Brandon Lee movie, this looks more like they're trying to do John Wick with the Crow. It's too clean. It's trying to be brutal, but overdoing it. And other than him and Danny Houston, there's no real stars in this, so it clearly looks like a rush job. I don't know nothing about FKA Twigs. Was she like a rapper or a DJ?
She's
like
what
kind of name FKA Twigs?
She's the one who Shia LaBeouf sued Shia LaBeouf for assault. And
good for her. Yeah, she should sue that guy. But yeah, this is one this is a rental. This is like one you just wait for on streaming or on cable. This is not going to do well at all. Not because of Bill Skarsgård, because this is unnecessary, and it's just not going to have the same grit as the Brandon Lee movie. It goes beyond just insulting the man's legacy.
Well, I mean, I look forward to this, considering all the rumored Crow reboots they want to do over there, where it was at one point Bradley Cooper, where it was one point Robert Pattinson, where it was one point Mark Wahlberg.
Tom Hiddleston was up for it.
And Rob Zombie was going to direct one.
Which I would have liked to have seen, by the way.
I would not. No. It would have gone to, instead of just a murder, would have been a 10-minute gang rape scene for no reason. And at one point when he was alive, DMX was even up to star in a Crow movie.
Oh, so they're going to race swap version. That would have been terrible.
It could have been a hip hop version. Hey, Leprechaun in the Hood. Why not the
Bones.
Hey, if you want to make Snoop Dogg the villain, go for it. The only thing, like you said, with I don't know anything about the wrestling part or the wrestler. The thing that gave me the bad taste was seeing Danny Houston as the villain. Fine actor, but again, it reminds me of 30 Days of Night when he was the villain. Like, it just gave me those vibes again. Like, no, not again.
He's like Richard Jordan. He's got to be the villain in everything he does.
I'm like, if you're gonna make it that way, get Rick Hoffman from Thanksgiving.
Everybody hates Rick Hoffman.
Hey, I'm like, but he's somebody you wouldn't expect. Playing what's the character?
Not hate, but like loves to hate.
Exactly. Yeah, Richard Hoffman could be like, oh, kill that dude, definitely. He needs 20 guards, Danny Houston, I guess they're like, well, Danny Houston looks like he could maybe fight, Or if we're talking actors we love to hate, me in particular, Christoph Waltz. Hey, he played a villain in, what was it, the Green Hornet? So what?
Yeah, how did that work out?
Exactly. Like the crows beneath him. Um, the next trailer also is an action film starring Bill Skarsgård, Boy Kills World, where it's basically almost like Silent Night, except the main character just doesn't talk as he goes on this worldwide path of revenge. And all I could think of watching this is Bill Skarsgård really wants to make up for us thinking he was a wuss in John Wick 4 as the final villain. So, 'cause I'm like, 2 action films in a year that kind of look similar, except one's gothy. So, but I will admit, this one at least it looks a little more intriguing than the Crow reboot, maybe because it's not a remake or a reboot. So it feels a little more original, even though it also feels like a video game, a very violent one. But the Crow reboot has FKA Twigs, so a little bit more eye candy for me. So it's like a toss-up, like which one do I go with? But yeah, this is more of like there's nothing else playing that week, so I haven't been to the movies in a while. Let me check this out. And if it's at Alamo, maybe I'll have a glass of wine before to, get me in the right headspace for this movie. What do you think of Boy Kills World?
Yeah, no connection with the TV show, by the way.
Yeah, it would have been cooler if it was.
It would have been a nice twist, just like the Fantasy Island movie. Yeah, this was better than the Crow trailer. This was more hyper stylized and feels like you're eating Skittles and you're watching a mix mash of Silent Night, Crank, Turbo Kid, like all this stuff that's like all driven by, I guess, video game revenge, and looks very more absurd compared to the Crow trailer. So this one actually kind of caught my attention a little bit, especially the fact that he has an inner monologue that's supposed to be like the sound of a fighting game. That I thought was okay. That's kind of cool. That's a little different, but it could get annoying very quick. And it also feels like this could be in the same universe as Squid Game.
I can see that, at least style-wise in the colors.
Definitely the colors.
But will you see it in a theater?
I would wait for the reviews on it, and if they're really solid, then I might check it out.
Okay. Next trailer, Twisters, the sequel to the original Twister with Glenn Campbell. I always blank on the female star's name.
Daisy Edgar Jones.
Yes. It's sorry, gee. I take
Charlie Calvert's friend.
I take it you are a fan.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, her. This is, a whole new bunch of Storm Watchers going after Twisters, and apparently they're celebrities too. And somehow they fought it, and somehow in their differing, I guess, approaches to chasing Twisters, they seem to form a relationship, of the will they or won't they in the middle of a natural disaster. Yeah, I saw Twister in theaters. It was interesting. I have rarely ever watched it again. I don't see the need for this sequel, and the trailer wasn't making me like, I gotta see this now. So, I like the 2 stars in it. It also has Sasha Blaine in it, even though she's not in the trailer at all. She would be the only thing that would make me want to go see this movie. So I'm just like, yeah, this one's a skip for me. Unless, like you said, unless you went to see it and every critic who saw it was like, this is awesome, you've got to see it. Then it'll be a Dune 2 situation where I didn't plan on seeing it, but I had to go for word of mouth.
I saw the original Twister at the AMC Theater on 42nd Street, and I remember only liking it for the sound system and how explosive it was in the theater every time there was a tornado. But the movie itself really wasn't all that memorable, other than, oh, they have to put these little orbs in there to, I guess, scan and do this nice research. And Jamie Gertz quits on Bill Paxton halfway through the movie. That's all I really remember about it. It wasn't something I would go back to and say, oh, yeah, I got to get this on tape. No, it wasn't that kind of movie. The only good thing I could say about this trailer is Glenn Powell definitely looks like a movie star here, and deservedly so. He's got the looks, he's got the chops, and I see him doing bigger things than just that Sydney Sweeney movie. And
Jeez.
Daisy Edgar Jones looks delicious. I mean, what can I say? She is a very delicious looking woman.
Oh, jeez.
Besides all that, I have no interest in seeing this movie. I mean, it's just as interesting to me, or lack of interest, as when I went to Universal and went on the Twister ride where Bill Paxton put you in a room and had all the Twister stuff happening on you so you can feel like there's a tornado right in your face. But I'm not going to get this in this movie, so why would I pay money to go see this? This should be a straight-to-video sequel like that Backdraft sequel where William Baldwin dies.
I didn't even know there was a Backdraft sequel.
And they bring back Kurt Russell's son as an alcoholic adult.
Well, he is a firefighter. Well, after that, I never want to hear if I keep bringing up FKA Twix again. You talk about
maybe this is what the movie needed.
Daisy Edgar. Every movie needs FKA Twigs for me. It's like,
and Daisy Edgar, they should do a buddy movie together.
Why not? Well, they could have did that bad Tiffany Haddish, Rose Byrne, strange buddy comedy, and
we'll have them together with Tiffany Haddish as the villain.
No. I'd rather Rose Byrne the villain. No,
well, that would actually make money.
Yeah, well, with Tiffany Haddish, hopefully there's no children in the movie. So yeah. So,
we're just itching to get to that quiet on set.
Yes. I'm like, okay, so next we're gonna go with the movie we've all been waiting for. Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Can you make something seem even more forced in a movie than this trailer? I'm like, okay, Brian Tyree Henry came back. Great for him. I hope he was paid well. But this movie just looks so ridiculous. It's like, it's sort of like, it's literally like watching wrestling, because like, oh, that dude got his ass kicked, so we got to bring in his partner so they can team up and take on NWO. That's what it feels like watching this trailer. It's like, what? They could even come up. They could have just named this movie The New Empire, but instead they have to let you know why they want you to go see it. Godzilla with King Kong and a mechanical hand. It's like, so King Kong's pulling a Dr. Detroit over without the wig, and somehow Dan Aykroyd's not in this film. I'm just like, they try to make you excited, but I will always keep referencing this trailer too. It's like that movie Two for the Money where they're like, Pacino.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, oh, who's he co-starring? McConaughey. And this was before Matthew McConaughey had his renaissance. So you're like, was I supposed to be excited for this pairing? Like, and, so much so that they even had to put like, Russo. Like, let's try and soften the blow. So look, it's summer entertainment at its worst. Just looking at the trailer, I'm not going to see it. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it on streaming, because this is just commerce. That's commerce, because there's no storyline in the world that's going to make this believable or make you care.
Well, one thing is for sure, it's definitely made for commerce, and it's gonna make a boatload of money. I mean, the previous Godzilla vs. Kong movie actually was kind of fun. I watched it on Max at home, and it was a good time waster. And I also think it's going to get boosted by the fact that the other Godzilla movie just won an Oscar.
Yeah,
So no
but that one
doubt.
was good.
Okay, yeah, that one was good, but still, it's a franchise, and there's all sorts of different versions of Godzilla. People go out and see it anyway, and especially when it's Kong and you're doing King of the Monsters as a universe building franchise, people are going to pay all over the world. And if you even tie it with Pacific Rim, you're going to make quadruple money with
You
that.
just gave them their third movie.
Yeah, I don't care. I pay to see it.
No, not me.
But you know what fascinates me? Okay, so this is Adam Wingard directing. He directed the last one. He brought back his guest star, Dan Stevens, in here, playing a significant part. There's no Millie Bobby Brown. I guess she was smart enough to realize, okay, now I need to have a serious career. Let me finish Stranger Things and let me do something else. I'm not going to do another Godzilla movie. I'm always fascinated, though, by Rebecca Hall being in these movies because she seems like a very, high respected young actress. What is she doing in a Godzilla versus Kong movie other than the fact that it's a paycheck job? There's got to be something more that makes her look at this and say, I want to do this movie, because she doesn't strike me as the type to sign up for something like this. Maybe Emily Blunt. I don't see it with her, though.
It's like, why? Because I'm married to Krinsky? Rebecca Hall, well, passing while critically acclaimed, probably wasn't a money maker. So she's got to take what jobs they send her. And between Rebecca Ferguson, Emily Blunt, and other British actresses that they just keep putting in these action films, she's like, I got to take what they send me.
And maybe that's why I respect British actresses, because they will take the paycheck and they will not phone it in. It's amazing.
Well, don't forget, she is half black, so maybe she was like Brian Tyree.
Really? Holy shit. That's news to me. She's half black?
You didn't see Passing, I take it.
No, I didn't.
That's why she directed it.
I thought she was Willie White. Holy shit.
Oh, she's
like Rashida Jones. Holy whoa. Wow.
Or Halsey, if you want to go there. Yes.
My mind is blown right now.
Yes, that's why I watched that Rebecca Hall movie with Tim Roth. That movie. That was one of the reasons I watched it, because I was
now I want to see her in like a Lovers Rock kind of movie with a British or Jamaican accent. Holy fuck.
I don't know still. Like now, just because she's half black doesn't mean she can definitely do.
Yo, let's get her in a hood movie now. Like she's deep in the streets. Damn. Come on the show, Rebecca Hall.
She would have to explain. The script would be like, okay, for the people who think I'm white, I am actually mixed. Or
that might be my new favorite actress now, just like Gary Oldman in True Romance. Whoa!
Well, I hope you know that Ruth Negga is mixed. That is so shocking.
Well, the name itself just...
Okay. Yes. I'm glad I'll
stop right there.
I'm glad I brought this news story to light.
That's major breaking news to me. Wow.
Some people did not know Rebecca Hall is half black. Yes.
Like Bobby Caldwell coming out at a concert and you find out he's white.
Yes. Okay. Anything else on the Godzilla? Kong, the new Empire movie.
I think we've just made black people want to come out and see this movie on Friday.
Yes, support Rebecca Hall.
Rebecca Hall.
And that's why when you say Millie Bobby Brown wants to get her proper career, yes, because Netflix Damsel movie was the first step in the right direction. Another heavy CGI feature.
Man, it is getting harder to see her grow up, and now they're trying to make her hot. It's like, oh, she's still a kid to me with the egos.
I'm just like her, Jenna Ortega. She hasn't had her Miller's Girl moment yet.
Yeah, it's coming though. Ugh.
Probably. Next, there has been a teaser trailer for Colin Farrell's The Penguin series coming to Max. Again, look, it already has a built-in audience, so I'm not going to be very critical of the teaser. So I'm probably going to watch it. Most people are going to watch it. How are you feeling about this teaser trailer?
I watched it, and you know what? It was pretty good. And I still feel like he was robbed of an Oscar nomination for the Penguin because he was excellent. And then now to see like that they're going sort of more like mafia direction in the Batman universe, I think it's a cool angle to do. So I'm definitely going to watch it.
Okay. Next, also another TV preview or teaser, The Acolyte, the latest Star Trek series.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, whatever.
They're going to kill you if you mix it up.
I know. Sorry. The new Star Wars series. You know, number 9 of 2000. You know, The Acolyte, it seems to be more going for a dark side vibe, more violent vibe. It's probably just going by trailer. It looks like what we all thought the Ashoka series was more going to be. You know, it's a Star Wars series. Yeah, I said Star Wars. I just want to make sure. So I don't know if I'm actually going to watch it or even rush to watch it. I'm more like, it looks nice. That's all I can say about it. What do you think of the Acolyte trailer?
I don't see anything in it that really gets me thinking Star Wars is back. I mean, we're going way deep before the beginnings of the Force and the beginning of the Jedi, and we're basically rewriting what George Lucas created. I just don't see anything here that makes me want to go and say, I'm going to pay for my Disney Plus subscription to watch this every week. I had the same problem with Andor. You know, there are people who love Andor, but it was like watching paint dry for me as a fan. And, you know, just it's not really doing me any good. Honestly, I mean, we're not really talking about this right now, but X-Men 97, that was worth the money for Disney Plus. That was the best thing they did since this first launched.
Okay. And the next trailer is Monkey Man, written, directed, produced, starring Mr. Dev Patel. It's basically a revenge tale action film. And you know what? Up until you had the monkey mask on in the wrestling ring, I was all for this movie. Then I was like, okay, I get it. But this is something I definitely would check out in theaters. Jordan Peele helped produce this film. And it answers the question, what the hell has Dev Patel been up to all these years? You know, other than, appearing in Lion and being embarrassed by being in that Avatar movie by M. Night Shyamalan. But, here he's really leaning into his looks, and he looks pretty badass. And, I mean, even during the making of the film, one of the reasons why it took so long is he kept breaking, like, his ankle, his hand in making this because, it's almost like a one-man band on this. And I am interested in seeing, somebody of color and a different culture in an action movie rather than some, no offense to them, but some balding white guy go to a foreign land and then kick everybody of color's ass. And then be like, I'm not racist because my girlfriend's of the culture in the movie too. So I'm all for this. I might even venture to go see this in the theater, Andre, what are you thinking of Monkey Man?
It looks very badass. Dev Patel is the most unconventional type of actor to have as an action star, and I like that aspect of it. So if you got Jordan Peele's name on this, it's got to be a good movie, I would hope. And just from seeing those trailers and how badass it looks, I think I might want to see this in the theater.
This is where I'm like, and he wasn't called for John Wick 4 as the last villain. Why? Because he definitely would have been better than Bill, I'm trying, Scar. Next trailer, the writing and directing debut of Chris Pine, Pool Man, which tries to kind of give an Under the Silver Lake or 1970s Raymond Chandler type feel of mystery. And at the center of it is kind of a stoner pool cleaner played by Chris Pine. Word from film festivals is that this film is barely watchable. But watching the trailer, I like the vibe. I don't know if I necessarily would go out of my way to watch it in a theater, but it does look interesting, and I'm hoping the word of mouth isn't true. What did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I agree with you with the Raymond Chandler vibe, and definitely was giving me vibes of The Long Goodbye with Elliot Gould, so very Altman-esque. But now that you said that it was considered unwatchable at the festivals that it played at, I'm worried just by looking at Chris Pine's performance that this could be another Fanatic with John Travolta.
Ooh.
And that was,
Well, he didn't go full, at least.
yeah, I hope not.
Next, we have all these long-awaited trailers. We have the second trailer of Furiosa with Anya Taylor-Joy, and George Miller has managed to do it again. Make an original-looking Mad Max film, and this man's 81 years old, so who knows how many of these he has left in him. And it does seg, not perfectly, but it segs from, Anya Taylor-Joy. We obviously know Furiosa as Charlize Theron, but showing the younger version and how she got to be the way she was. This trailer, is a little more artistic in the beginning, but it also is more conventional this time, because I think this trailer spends more time showing the stars of the movie, like Anya Taylor-Joy as an adult, Chris Hemsworth's character, and constantly, her constantly going after him, and even cameos from the villain from the last Mad Max movie. We don't know how important that plays, but we can only imagine the ending. Somehow she ends up in servitude to him. But I was already excited before I saw the trailer, but I'm definitely going to see this, and I feel like it's in fine hands, even if it does have a little bit of the Chris Hemsworth, chewing the scenery that he likes to do. But you know what? This time I'm all here for it. It doesn't feel like annoying or stupid like in the Ghostbusters movie. And, so how did you feel about this second trailer?
Yeah, I think it had all the right notes, and I like the fact that this movie is not going to be like the other Mad Max movies that take place in like one day or a few days. This one's actually going to be a little bit more sprawling in time, so we'll get the full effect of Furiosa's story. And yeah, George Miller has not skipped a beat. You could see all the references to the Road Warrior here, and I don't think he lets up at his age, and that's what makes it more exciting for me to go see it.
Yes, and hey, I like any movie that usually has Anya Taylor-Joy, so I'm there for it. Next, we have Alien Romulus. Well, it's a teaser, but basically, this is the next Alien movie. It has all practical effects, and it's by Fede Alvarez, who directed Don't Breathe, and the girl with the dragon tattoo, the reboot with Claire Foy. And trailer looks interesting. I'm usually excited about any new Alien movie, to see their take on it. I like Fede Alvarez as a director. I might not always love his movies, but because one of his first films was the Evil Dead reboot too. So he kind of comes in and takes IP and reboots it. And the style has always worked, even if the scripts have not. So I kind of have faith in this film, but it's also, I need to see more before I can put my money behind it, so to speak, and go see it in a theater. How did you feel about the teaser?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like a lot of Alien movies tend to get overhyped and then they kind of fall short of expectations because we always hold up the Ridley Scott and James Cameron movies to very high standards. What gives me a little bit of hope here is that Fede Alvarez actually consulted with both directors in his approach. So that helps because the storyline, from what I understand, is set between the first two Alien movies. It's supposed to be, I think, on a separate ship, and obviously during that period when Ripley's asleep on the ship that she's stowaway on. So we get, I guess, more of the setup for what ends up happening in Aliens with the planet LV 426 or whatever the planet's called. So that gives me some pause that it could be all right, you know, and also coming off of Prey, how that kind of saved the Predator franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the simplicity of it will actually make it worthwhile because let's face it, those last two Ridley Scott movies, Prometheus and Alien, whatever it was called, they were not terrible, but they weren't necessarily, you know, relighting this franchise. It's
Yeah.
been very troubled since Alien 3. So yeah, I'm hoping this one actually is a game changer.
Yeah, I'm like one of the handful of people who liked Prometheus, despite the 20,000 technical problems with
It was
it.
a cool theater experience, I gotta say.
Well, I know James Cameron supposedly loves Alien Romulus, and from what he's seen so far. Next, another teaser. Sorry, this is what they released, people, of Beetlejuice with Michael Keaton returning to the role, Winona Ryder returning to the role, and of course Jenna Ortega being Winona Ryder's daughter, and Catherine O'Hara returning. Obviously in good taste not to bring Jeffrey Jones back. I also makes me wonder, was Lydia's partner, or is Lydia's partner Hispanic in the movie? Since Jenna Ortega is in the film and not just whitewashing her, it looks interesting. We get glimpses, but we don't really know like a storyline or exactly what's happening. I will admit Winona Ryder looks a little ridiculous with her Lydia hair from the 89 in this movie. But other than that, I'm all for it. And strangely, no offense to Michael Keaton, but it's like Beetlejuice is aged, in that makeup. But I'm already there. I'm like everybody, I'm going to be there, try to get in opening weekend. But Tim Burton, this was a no-brainer. It's going to be a hit. And it seemed like fun, so I have nothing really bad to say about the trailer. How do you feel, Andre?
I'm excited. I mean, yes, there's a lot of the memorabilia as usual. You see the town, you see the school, you see the miniature town setup that Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis created in the first movie. So obviously that would give you concern that this is going to be all that, just a nostalgia trip, and there will be some of that. But what excites me is seeing Keaton back in that character, and when he's got that makeup on, he's going to go all out, and it's going to be the kind of Michael Keaton performance we haven't seen in years. So that gets me excited, and I really hope Tim Burton sticks to his word that there's no CG. There's no sign of it in this trailer. It seems like it's all back to the practical effects that were used back in 1988. I'm hoping he sticks with that because I did hear there's some stuff in there that will blow people's minds when they see it, and they'll wonder like, how the hell did they even pull this off? So there's really you only got a taste of what was coming, but I don't think we're really going to get the full effect until the second trailer.
Well, I'm hoping there will be more Harry Belafonte songs in this sequel.
Plenty.
And for our final trailer, the one that just came out 2 days ago, we have, okay, you already know I'm going to go see this, Bad Boys 4 Ride or Die. I don't think they really need to put Ride or Die as the title, because that was already kind of implied, but Martin finally looks like he's in shape in this movie. Will Smith is Will Smith, still kicking ass. It looks obviously more action oriented, where you're like, you guys are supposed to be homicide cops, right? Only. And it's like, now, they're on a plane taking a criminal, then plane is hijacked. Now they're supposed to be criminals on the run with Will Smith's son and taking on these big organizations. They creatively found a way for Joe Pantoliano to be in the film again. You get glimpses of Vanessa Hudgens and that Latin woman who Will Smith's character was romantically involved with. No, you get to see Reggie again. Like, now this is getting a inside joke that's going a little too much or too long, because he got the grandkids, he has a son, his daughter. Interestingly enough, we don't see his wife in the trailer, so we don't get to see the new iteration of his wife. And it finally looks like they finally let Martin Lawrence actually do some action this time around. So well, like I said from the top of the show, I'm definitely there opening weekend. How are you feeling about Bad Boys 4 Ride or Die?
You know, despite the fact that I still have issues with Will between the slap and all the Jada cucking stuff that's been out there, I'm with you. I want to see it myself. I love the Bad Boys movies, and I like the idea that they were on the run, that they were able to get Joe Pantoliano back in a posthumous performance with the captain, or even the fact that he's even tied with the plot is something that kind of like took me by surprise. And I think definitely this has to be the last one. I cannot see them go past this. You gotta really like make this like the big blow off to whatever this was supposed to build up to, because after this, these guys are going to be in their 60s. Nobody's going to care. But here, it looks like the energy level and the comedy is still intact from the last movie. So yeah, I'm there opening day as well.
I hope it's not the last. It probably should be the last. But I'm like those Lethal Weapon people. I'm like, they gotta give me one more, just one more. And I like that this one seems more action oriented than the last one. Actually, you know, this looks more like kick ass action. Like we're killing people and not taking names. We ain't cops no more. You might as well be government assassins. That's his point. That's the way the movie is looking. And since it's only the two of them on the run, I hope this doesn't mean they're going to kill off the son. You know,
you never know.
I still say spin-off movie. So that ends all of the news and trailers. So now we move on to the next phase, which is reviews of the latest films that came out. Are you ready, Mr. Joseph?
Ready like Freddy.
Okay, so the first movie we will take on in the review is Priscilla, written and directed by Sofia Coppola, based on Priscilla Presley's autobiography from the 1980s. It stars Kaylee Spaney and Jacob Elordi as Elvis Presley. This movie, look, I love Sofia Coppola as a writer and director, but also at certain times, it also feels like she's a chronicler of kind of historical events or pop culture stories, so that they come off as fashionable reenactments with some emotion, but they still have that kind of staged quality to them, no matter how stylish they are. And watching this film, it feels like that big time while you watch the film. Like Kaylee Spaney's very good. Even Jacob Elordi is very good in the film. And because, of course, they don't have the rights, they didn't have him, perform any songs or, perform in the movie on stage as Elvis. But, even though it is Priscilla Presley's story, it also kind of shows how grooming works, for anybody who doesn't know, and which is going to play into a future episode of ours really heavily. So it's relevant, and the film is good, but it's not great. It's like it's moving to see how this young girl is still a child at heart, but is supposed to be a woman, and how eventually she learns her independence and self-worth to move away from this man who's kind of dragging her down, and making her feel bad about herself because she's basically a slave to him while he openly has affairs. But, that's the whole thing. It's just good, It's good enough to watch and to watch for the themes, but as altogether, it's not Sofia Coppola's greatest work. It's not the most exciting thing to watch, but I would give it a recommendation for watching, because I think it's an interesting film to watch, especially with the themes and the mentality of going in. But I can't say this is a love story. For Priscilla Presley, it was because she lived it, but watching the film, again, you have that ick factor where you're just like, this is so uncomfortable. And it's so obvious what he's doing to her, even if they make that connection. What did you think of Priscilla, Andre?
So I knew going in, this was not going to be the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie. This was not going to be a glorifying depiction of the king. This was going to be more of Priscilla Presley's story, which is everything you just said. That she was groomed, that she was used, that, there were all these affairs going on behind Elvis's back, and that she was very controlled. So I knew this was going to be all those things, but I just found it very slow, very boring. There's no excitement. Even in the darker moments, it's just very dry and vanilla to me. And I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to things Elvis related. Like, I mean, there's some music I like, but I'm not like a fan. I'm not a fanatic. But I really couldn't get into it. It just was, even for Sofia Coppola standards, it was just not gripping enough for me. Maybe some of the religious stuff that went on, but that's about it. There really wasn't anything else that really hooked me. So I don't recommend it.
Okay. Well, I obviously enjoyed it a little bit more than you. I guess my question for you, what was the religious aspects that kind of, I guess, interested you? The only thing that apparently interested you in the film?
Was there like a part where like they go to like some baptism in a fire or something like that?
Okay, I don't remember that scene.
Yeah.
I remember the nuns going crazy when she graduated high school to meet Elvis. That's the only thing I really remember.
It was something midway through that was kind of freaky.
Okay. I thought it was interesting, like you said, how she was controlled, how she couldn't even talk to the ladies who answered Elvis's fan mail, who, she was around the same age. And being a Southern or a film set in the South, of course there had to be like a black maid who did everything for this family and was even there when she finally left, So I was like, oh, geez. But like I said, I recommend it. Andre does not. So take what you want out of that. I would say if you're an Elvis fanatic, watch the film. Though it's not the most positive version of him. And Jacob Elordi was believable as Elvis. Even though, Jacob Elordi's like 7 feet tall and this poor girl's like 4'11", Elvis was tall, but he wasn't that tall compared to Priscilla. So our next movie is The Underdogs with 2 G's. So you know who must star in it, Mr. Snoop Doggy Dogg. Where he plays a football player who has been disgraced and crashes his car, and the judge, played by Candy Burris, sentences him to community service, which he finds a way to use for coaching a little league team, not of baseball, but of football. And he even gets his old homie, Mike Epps, who is a career criminal in this movie, to, I guess, assist him, while his star player's mother is a girl he used to mess with in high school, played by Tika Sumpter. I will say this for the movie. I like Charles Stone III as a director. I liked Drumline. Yes, I said it. I liked Paid in Full. I remember the "What's up" commercials that he made. Snoop plays a version of himself because this film is basically just a movie version of the football league that he runs in real life, Little League, except, obviously his Little League is more well-funded than in this film. It tries to be the Bad News Bears with the kids cursing and be little badass mofos. So it had that hardball movie kind of quality, only, black on black, except for one Latin kid. And one of the fiercest players turning out to be a light-skinned girl. It's cute. Would I have paid to see it? No. But for what it was as a Snoop Dogg streaming movie, it was cute. Mike Epps still hasn't made me laugh. I'm just wondering, how did is Cal Penn really that hard up for acting work that he's playing his agent in this? And your big villain is Andrew Schultz? I mean, I don't like him either, but still, you know. And why was George Lopez even in this movie? Just to have another name? Because he's like got 2 scenes and he doesn't do much in either of them. So, I don't want to kick a film while it's down. I would say if you partake in Snoop Dogg's favorite thing, watch the movie. Or if you want to watch something with the kids and you don't mind some bad language, give it a try. But if you're looking for, you know, why did he use that Dutch angle in that scene? This is not the movie for you. This is popcorn blockbuster entertainment. So on that level, I will give it a recommendation. You could do a lot worse, even with Mike Epps in it. But Andre, what did you think of The Underdogs?
I had a lot of fun with The Underdogs. I don't have children, but I would definitely, if I had kids, I would let them watch it. I mean, I used to film my friends' little league football teams a lot. And so I've seen similar things like you see in this movie take place, and it's very realistic in that sense. Um, yeah, it's cliched. It's the Bad News Bears. It's the Mighty Ducks, which they poke fun at quite a bit in this movie, and it's Snoop Dogg doing Snoop Dogg. I mean, there's nothing more you could really ask him to do. You're not going to ask him to stretch a tortoise to the Angeles Ashes or anything like that. He'd probably be smoking the ashes if he had a chance. But it's a good time waster. It's cute. It's fun. It's got a decent message there, and yeah, I mean, I recommend it on that basis. If you check your brain out the door, if you're not looking at it from a technical standpoint or like some, genius writing, it's a fun movie and it's very crude and it's got a little bit of something for everybody, where you're a teen or an adult or just simply a fan of Snoop. It's a cute movie, and I personally like Snoop, so I recommend it.
Okay, so that is The Underdogs with Snoop Dogg. It gets a double recommendation. So next film we're going to talk about is Dream Scenario. It is directed by Christopher Borgli, and it stars Nicolas Cage as a college professor who all of a sudden starts appearing in everyone's dreams. And this makes him world famous because he doesn't know. No one can really find out why he's appearing in everyone's dreams. And all is fine until people start having nightmares and he's in them, not necessarily being the person torturing or killing them, but he's just in them. And so then his popularity wanes. And we see how, he finds fame and how it brings him up, and afterwards how it brings him down. Now, Andre, you recommended this movie, so you saw it first. And tell us what you liked, or what your review is of Dream Scenario.
So I've been reading about this for some time, that it was a very complex premise. And of course, Nicolas Cage is on a little bit of a comeback trail. So it was a must see for me. What I would say about it is, yeah, it's as dark and disturbing as you would expect. And it's also hilarious where you expect it. It had the vibes of a Charlie Kaufman movie. It had the vibes of even something as not so great as Vanilla Sky. Kind of that same deal of like a guy in different realities going into people's minds with different perspectives, and it's all like kind of like, first it's kind of weird, then it gets very dark and disturbing halfway through, and for some reason it just worked for me because it's Nicolas Cage and it's a character part that we haven't really seen him do much of in a very long time, and it's only now he's getting opportunities to do these type of parts. So I recommend it as something that could be, like if you enjoyed something like Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind, this is kind of up there in terms of just how offbeat and obscure it is. And then, things do get a little bit explained at the end, but it's like it doesn't even matter at that point, because this is a character that's got so many complex layers. Even the dark stuff that you don't expect him to do, he ends up like almost tempted to do, like with the one girl that has like the sexual fantasies about him. It's all over the place, but I think it's like a wonderful piece of art. That's the way I recommend it.
Okay. I saw it eventually. It's by the writer-director of a foreign film called Sick of Myself, which was a film about a woman who, I guess, notices like when she's sick or attacked, how much attention she gets. So she's so much a narcissist, she ends up taking this drug that she knows she has a negative reaction and kind of disfigures herself. Also, because of the attention she's getting. And this film is kind of like that. But the thing I notice about this director's films, they're always disturbing. They make you feel uncomfortable as you watch them. And even in this film, like Nicolas Cage, I would say is on Peggy Sue Got Married type of, I'm going to be a normal guy, but I'm going to kind of be annoying too, where he's believable as being a normal person, but the little things like he doesn't catch on to, or his character doesn't catch on to, that feel a little more scripted, you know? I like his freakouts, like, you know, when he's in the restaurant and refuses to leave. Like you said, that really weird scene with the girl who has the sexual fantasy about him. The scene where he just wants to see his daughters play after he's hated. Michael Cera coming out of nowhere in this movie. You know, like I like those scenes. And it is a very interesting and good film. Tim Meadows, you know, how 1 minute his friend wants him to be at the dinner party, and then how uncomfortable his wife, his friend's wife feels when they do come to dinner. But, you know, ultimately, you feel sorry for the guy, even though he's kind of a jerk once he finds fame and his refusal to just lay low. But also, it shows the fickleness of the public, too, because it was that disturbing that the wife can't even sit down to dinner, even though she knows it's a dream, you know, or all these other people who loved him 1 minute and now all of a sudden, like, they mess up his car and all that and then film him freaking out. And, you know, and it just shows the fickle amount of fame. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And even, like, him suspecting his wife's having an affair during this, and then, like I said, the most disturbing scene, like you said, is that scene with the girl. You know, but I give Cage kudos for willing to be unlikable. Though I hate to say it, maybe it's because of what he said at the Oscars. Could I have seen Paul Giamatti in this role? Yes. Yeah. You know, and no offense to Cage, Paul Giamatti might have been a little more believable. You know. Because this is, I would compare it to The Weatherman, but Weatherman felt like such a Hollywood movie. This feels truly, like you said, more artistic, you know, than anything.
Because it's a commentary on social media.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any happy endings. Just like, okay, everybody's fascinated by this, but then everybody's want to sign up for this technology where you can enter other people's dreams, though. You know, even though they don't know why or how Nicolas Cage's character is entering other people's dreams. So it's just like, I don't know. But either way, I give it a thumbs up, but I warn people, this is not for everybody. It is a very uncomfortable film. So that is 2 recommendations for Dream Scenario. And next up, now we're going to go on to, I will say, the blockbuster list. So the first movie that I know all of you want to hear about, Roadhouse, the remake, directed by Doug Liman and starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Now, anybody who has watched this show knows that me and Andre are both huge fans of the Patrick Swayze action spectacular known as Roadhouse, directed by Rowdy Herrington, with Kelly Lynch and the coolest man in cinema in that movie, Sam Elliott. Watching that movie, I wished I could grow long hair just so I could do my hair like him in that movie. And Ben Gazzara as the villain. So we get this remake, more in name and profession only, because Jake Gyllenhaal's character is a former UFC fighter, not a world-renowned bar bouncer, and you know, he gets this opportunity by Jessica Williams in a thankless role to come into this town, be her bouncer. He meets a little black girl and her father who run a bookstore, hence the reading that Patrick Swayze's character did in the first film. And he basically does what he is needed to do, empowers the other bouncers, kicks a bunch of ass. Look, this film, there's no Ben Gazzara, really. Unless Ben Gazzara is the dad on the phone. There is no... I'm trying to think of... There's no Sam Elliott. It's character. We do get Billy Magnuson playing Bill Skarsgård in John Wick 4, where he hires everybody to do everything for him. Look, the film has those sleazy, ridiculous moments that the original Roadhouse does, but then it chooses to get serious in other scenes, which doesn't work, the more emotional scenes. First of all, Danielle Melancour looks way too young to be a love interest for Jake Gyllenhaal, so it looked kind of nasty. It would have been like if he romanced the girl at the bookstore. You know? Conor McGregor's character is a cartoon character. There's nothing believable about him at all. You know, beating down a guy and burning down his shop just to get a suit. Come on. This is just stupid. And the characters never truly dying and keep coming back was getting annoying. It's passable, but it's not the classic. It's nowhere near the classic that the original was. I wanted to like it. Your friend or Arturo Castro is obviously supposed to be like the fat dude from the original movie, or is just like a funny thug in the background. Yeah, there wasn't even any memorable one-liners or throat ripping. But though pretty much everybody was in awe of Jake Gyllenhaal. I was, even though I was like, could you pick better shirts for his character to wear in this tropical weather? It's Jake. I want to give it a recommendation, but I can't. I'm sorry. And I like Doug Liman as a director too. You know, there were some original action scenes there, but knowing that it's part CGI, it doesn't help. So I can't give it my full recommendation. And Andre, what did you feel about this Roadhouse remake or reboot?
So I go into this feeling that the original Roadhouse is not a sacred cow. I mean, it's really a guilty pleasure that's very pulpy. And with this remake, I think that's what it's lacking, is the pulpiness. I think it tries very hard to want to be over the top, whether it's Conor McGregor's performance or the CGI driven fight scenes, or even the part where they have Jake Gyllenhaal get hit by the truck and, falls into the river. Like they want it to be like this insane over the top action movie, but it feels like it's trying to be that rather than naturally being that, the way that the Patrick Swayze movie was. And without having the Sam Elliott type presence, it also kind of takes away from it. Like that cool sidekick mentor type. Instead, it's just really like Jake Gyllenhaal being a loner, which I feel like we've already seen that before with kind of saw it with Southpaw, saw it with a few other parts. He's good. I mean, he definitely has like that sort of like, okay, he gets stabbed and he doesn't really give a shit. He'll take the car battery and try to heal himself up in 2 seconds. Okay, that's kind of cool to see. And he gives his all in it. Yeah, Jessica Williams is passable, but I will say she's kind of smoking in this movie, to be honest. She actually looks really good here. But I do agree that the nurse looked too young for him. But I was more annoyed with her father, who is
the corrupt police chief.
The corrupt police chief who basically does like what Ray Winstone did in the fourth Indiana Jones movie. Like, he's a good guy, then he's a bad guy, then he's back to being a good guy. Like, there's too many turns for this guy to really give a shit about him, and that really annoyed me. And basically what I would say is that I give it a mild recommendation because I think it's just a good time waster, but it's not something I would go and watch again. I probably would
Exactly.
jump at watching the Swayze movie before anything else because that one I think was more of the time, more of the era, very much rooted in that kind of you know, country music channel kind of bar fighting type of pulpy B movie excess versus this, which is a little too sleek, a little too polished, and trying too hard to be cool. There's a difference.
Well, I feel like watching this movie, you could tell when Joel Silver was fired.
Yeah.
Because then it's just like, okay, now let's get respectable. Like, the only thing they kept was Conor McGregor from the Joel Silver era. So, yeah, like I said, I don't recommend it, but Andre gives it a mild recommendation. So, proceed with caution. Hope you like it. Let us know. Next is a movie I know Andre has been waiting to talk about, Wonka, directed by Paul King and starring Timothy Chalamet, which is basically a Wonka origin story. It basically is before the Chocolate Factory. It's what goes into making the Chocolate Factory, if you will, and his business just starting off in the first place. And since Andre has been outspoken in conversations about this film, let him give his review first.
So yeah, I'll preface this by saying that I do recommend this movie.
Oh.
It was fun, and I gotta say that having grown up on the Gene Wilder movie, that I found myself singing some of the old classics as they were being performed in the musical. Timothy Chalamet was wonderful. He doesn't hold a candle to Gene Wilder, but he was better than Johnny Depp. And even though I kind of liked Depp's performance, it was a little bit creepy. But Chalamet, I think, delivered. Like I believed him as a young Willy Wonka who's idealistic and has wonderful dreams and wants to make children happy all over the world. So I like that aspect of it.
Okay.
And I like the fact that he builds a chocolate factory or at least a store, and then things kind of backfire and he tries to build himself back up. Yeah, it's a pleasant movie. It is fun. Even Hugh Grant, he's a little asshole, but he works as a Oompa Loompa, and that was fun to see too. So it's good fun for the whole family. Where I take issue, though, from day one, I know in this era of Hollywood, we're trying to check the boxes and do this diversity quota. I'm not faulting any of the actors here. Everybody was good. Even the young actress who plays Noodles, that was her name, right?
Noodle, I think.
Yeah, Noodle. Like, she was good. Even the Snogsworth or
Slugsworth.
Slugsworth. They have this British black actor playing Slugsworth. I mean, he was good too. Like I like his character, and I was kind of glad that they didn't do some twist where it turned out he was the father of Noodle, and then he becomes like a good guy at the end. Like suddenly he has a heart. No, he's evil all throughout. So that's all well and good. I just am still bothered, and also I like Rowan Atkinson. He's always a present to see in anything because I love Mr. Bean. But Jesus Christ, the extent in which they want to check the boxes with race, and you have this young girl that she's likable, she's sympathetic, but why do we have in this era in 2024 a young black girl who is a slave to ugly white people? And I like Olivia Colman. She was very good here too. But why is she being depicted as a slave and poor? And the mother is supposedly destitute. And then we find out later she works in a library, was separated from her child as a young woman. Why is the other black person in this movie a dirty cop? Why is there another black person who's a rich racist asshole? I don't get it. I don't understand why they think checking the box means that all the black people have to be evil or poor. you know, and it's like supposed to be a fantasy world, but it's supposed to be like the 1950s. So where are all these black people coming from who speak American English, except for Slugsworth? I don't understand that. And why is Slugsworth carrying a gun in a kids movie trying to kill Willy Wonka? I don't understand.
What else would he be carrying? A knife?
And a knife.
What? He's an expert at throwing blades?
And the worst part, the worst crime, and this could set us back thousands of years from now. Willy Wonka wants to give a black girl a lifetime supply of chocolate so she can get diabetes as an adult.
I think that one you're stretching with. But
yes, I am stretching this like a motherfucker. But I do recommend it because it is fun. It is enjoyable for the whole family. And the only thing that this movie is missing is Sammy Davis Jr.'s depiction of the Candyman.
Okay. Well, I agree with you. I enjoyed this film more than I expected to. It's definitely better than Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Timothy Chalamet is good, and he doesn't hold a candle to Gene Wilder. I even liked how they reincorporated some of the original songs throughout the film.
And there's a lot of Easter eggs, too.
Yeah. I enjoyed it fits Paul King style, who has directed the previous two Paddington movies, because it does feel like he built a world, because it's a beautiful film to look at visually. You know, the effects, they're obviously CGI, but not annoyingly so. So they're impressive, especially when they mess with the chocolate and everybody has like negative reactions to it. I liked that scene. I don't go as far as you, but there is a white messiah complex in this movie where what's his name? Willy Wonka is Jesus and helping all the black people, and he solves all of their problems. I mean, there was a good black cop, but he was following orders. Keegan-Michael Key plays, the dirty black cop. I liked Slugsworth as a villain. I don't understand the racism. I think it was more classism. But that actor I've seen play in the show Peep Show, and he plays the same type of character. So he's a good actor. Olivia Colman, I enjoyed. I was surprised she was even in the movie. You had Natasha Rothwell, another black actress, who I guess you could say was kind of a slave because she was in the boarding house being forced to work. And I like Noodle. I even like that stupid scene in the with the giraffe in the zoo.
Yeah, that was cute.
I recommend it. I don't find the film as racist as you do, apparently. I would highly recommend this film. And I was even one of the naysayers who didn't want to see this movie in theaters. And I don't know if it was, everything came together. Hugh Grant, whatever. I think whoever would have played that would have worked. But they used Hugh Grant's, I guess, publicity that works for that character.
Yeah, which publicity, though?
The bad. But my thing is, I hope this is it. I don't want sequels. I want it to end right here.
But we need the middle. You talked about the Chocolate Wars. We need a Chocolate War movie.
No, don't give them ideas.
Became an evil asshole.
No, leave it as that, because you just want to see how him and Slugsworth become friends. That's what.
And how that crazy ass psychedelic tunnel was created, because you can't be that nice of a guy to have all that scary shit going on.
Just read the book. Stop with having to make it on screen. I do not want sequels.
Where did the Oompa Loompas really come from?
Well, they were slaves. So if you read the books,
and we tied up to Noodle.
Well, Noodle was just indentured servitude. So there is a difference. That is two. You give it a recommendation or a high recommendation?
I give it a high recommendation.
So that's two.
We should have had Vashon for this episode.
Yes. So we give two high recommendations with a little questionable of racism on the side.
Yeah, some outdated attitude.
Even though it came out last year. So it's what you read into it. If you want to look at it as innocent, it's innocent. If you see certain aspects, feel free to share them with us and agree.
Yeah,
So
just get some Wonka candy. You'll forget about it.
Yeah, pretty much, even though it's chocolate. Or did you pick white chocolate?
No nerds, gobstoppers, bottle shockers.
I'm all about the chocolate, man. So, next, for our final review, we take a look at Dune Part 2, directed by Denis Villeneuve, starring Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Christopher Walken, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Austin Butler, Javier Bardem, a hot French chick who plays a warrior, Florence Pugh, Anya Taylor-Joy, Rebecca Ferguson. Did I miss anybody?
Josh Brolin.
I said Josh Brolin.
Oh. Charlotte Rampling.
Oh, Charlotte Rampling. Dave Bautista.
Austin Butler.
Jason. Huh?
Austin Butler.
Yep. Just no Jason Momoa. This continues. Look, I'm not going to even try to say these characters' names. Timothée Chalamet and his mother joined basically the rebellion. In fact, you know what? Highly recommended, because even watching the film, while it's a great movie to watch, I can't even begin to really explain the storyline of this movie, nor the first one. So, but what I will say, what I liked, it's long. But you don't notice the time going by, even as confusing as it gets with story-wise. Everybody is on top of their game. This is basically a movie about prophecies and worshiping false gods. That's basically what this movie boils down to. It is an epic in of itself. And look, I usually fall asleep watching Denis Villeneuve films. I fell asleep watching Blade Runner 2099. I fell asleep watching Prisoners. I fell asleep watching Arrival. I was wide awake for all 3 hours of this movie. So that shows you something. Austin Butler was cool as the badass evil prince with anger issues. Florence Pugh, surprisingly hot again in another movie. In this movie, Anya Taylor-Joy is more of a cameo in this film, but supposedly once Messiah, the third part, comes out, she'll be in more of the film. Like I said, the film had plenty of action, plenty of sci-fi, plenty of effects. It lets you kind of live out that fantasy of riding a sandworm throughout the film. I would give the film a very high recommendation, but I also give it, you have to watch it on the biggest screen available that you can find. And I would say I don't think it's as good as people were comparing it to, like, The Godfather Part 2. That I'm like, watch more movies. But I will say this is one of those movies where the sequel does certainly surpass the original. And plus, come on, walking in the flesh on screen is, it's a no-brainer. So I give it a high recommendation. And so far, I will say it's probably my favorite movie that I've seen this year. Andre, what did you feel about Dune Part 2?
All the same things. Highly recommend it. It's my favorite of the year. And this is the way that I recommend you seeing this movie, because, again, the plot is very hard to explain. But, it's always feuding families and fighting for territory and spice. Go to AMC and order yourself the Sand Spice drink. This is what I did. And I had that drink with my popcorn. And I felt like my mind opened up because I was able to withstand those 3 hours and understand most of everything that was going on in that movie. So if you don't understand Dune, that's how you see that movie, is you have to watch drunk, or at least buzzed enough to pay attention to that shit. But it was excellent. And I do recommend seeing it on the big screen with the spice drink.
I didn't go impaired, but I was managed to follow it. I think watching it sober or drunk, doesn't matter. You'll enjoy it. And I don't think you'll find yourself bored unless, you're not willing to open your mind up to epic filmmaking, because yes, there's plenty of action, but there's also plenty of dialogue scene and scenes of drama that are meant, to have kind of a more, I guess what you could say, higher impact than the action necessarily. I would be interested in being in Timothy Chalamet's shoes, where Florence Pugh or Zendaya, where's the bad choice?
Well, that sets up some big things if they make Messiah.
Okay, we'll see. Even though they did kill my other favorite female character, Sophia Jacobs' character. But yeah, like I said, high recommendation, definitely a must-see for if you're truly a film fan out there. Is there anything else you have to say about Dune? Dune Part 2.
No, just go see it now. And definitely see the first movie to understand it.
I saw the first film. It helps, but it's not a matter. And you're not going to be any more confused if you didn't see the first one. So that brings this episode to an end. But as you know, we always have unfinished business to tend to. I have to ask you, audience, have you seen All of Us Strangers? If not, why not? Because it's fucking awesome. Andre, what film would you recommend for the folks?
Have you seen The Beekeeper? If not, why not? Because it's fucking awesome.
I have not, so I have to check that out. And that ends this episode. And till next time, we shall see you.